What's up guys, and welcome to another YuGiOh Duel Links video. So currently we have the new event, the Turbo Duel Grand Prix that just came out, and this is right after the DD Castle Supreme King event. So since that event has finally ended, let's proceed to this new event and see what it's about. So for those of you who do not know, the Turbo Duel Grand Prix is actually a PvP event where you take part in duels and basically face off against duelists from all over the world. Think of it like ranked duels. However, there's a system here that for each victory you accumulate points and also obtain jewels and other certain rewards that will be listed soon. So currently, as you know, the list is right here, so let's go into event details right there. So in this event, the Turbo Duel Grand Prix, you will be using a D-Wheeler that has its own special skills and abilities that actually helps you benefit during the duels. So for this update of the event, there is actually a new D-Wheeler, and this belongs to Primo. We'll go into the details of his new D-Wheeler soon enough, but let's check out the rewards. So the first reward you can see here is basically the Synchro monster known as Dark Strike Fighter. It's a level 7 machine dark monster, and once per turn during your main phase, you can distribute a monster on your field and inflict burn damage times 100 based on the monster's level itself. This is quite optional for you if you want to use the burn effect, or you just want to get a 2600 beta right on the field just to build something out. It all depends on your deck build, and overall this is an okay card, and I will recommend you to at least get a few copies of it, just in case you actually have some ideas on how you want to build the deck and what combos might come with as well. Next up, the second card is Absurd Stealer. It's a level 1 machine monster. When this card is normal summon, target a level 4 or lower attack precision monster your opponent controls, half its attack points, and this card's attack will be the defense of that monster instead. This is a very weird card to have for this event, since some monsters you do not know whether they have like very high defense. For example, like Dark Strike Fighter with only 1800 defense. That's just an example, but level 4 monsters generally, especially the ones you normal summon or special summon onto the field, generally have less than 1000 defense points. So therefore, this monster gaining the attack based on the defense is a pretty meh idea, but having the attack points of that monster is a pretty good bonus as well. So if you want to use this card, I recommend you to have a deck that has a lot of special summonings, so at least you won't keep this on the field and use it as a synchro material or an Xyz material depending on your build as well. So the third card that everyone will be looking at will be Junk Gardener. It's a junk synchron based synchro monster as well. So while recording Junk Synchron as its tuner, you can select a monster your opponent controls, change its battle position, and this effect can be activated during either player's turn. So anytime your opponent plans to do an attack or something, you can basically activate this effect to change the battle position. And when this card is destroyed, you can select a monster on the field and change its battle position as well. So even if it leaves the field that turn, you can change the battle position of a monster on the field. So that way you'll prevent further attacks being inflicted onto you, buying you an extra turn to see what you can do next. You can use this for a Stardust deck if you like as well. Since Stardust Dragon, there's actually a spell card that actually banishes synchro materials from the graveyard to bring out Stardust Dragon. Aside from that, if you do not want to use that effect, it's also fine. It all depends on how you want to play around your deck. This card as a defensive card is quite reasonable as well, with 2600 attack defense points and the ability of switching battle positions. Next up is Hook the Hidden Knight. So this card is a level 4 dark monster and it's a fiend as well. If this card is being targeted for an attack while in attack position, target the attacking monster, change this card to defense position. If you do, change the attacking card to defense position as well. And once this card is being changed from attack to defense, inflict 400 burn damage to your opponent. This is just like a Junk Gardener, but with the extra bonus effect when if it changes battle position, you inflict 400 burn damage. That way you'll have some burn damage to your opponent, although minor as it seems, having this card on attack position on your turn is actually quite a beneficial thing to think when you think about it. You prevent further attacks coming onto you, not to mention if your opponent were to have a second monster as well, they'll be attacking this card and you will not be taking any more battle damage to your life points. Next card is Tomato and Tomato. So this card cannot be used for as an Xyz material except for a Plat Xyz monster. So if you were to play this card, you can actually you are supposed to use it with Tomato King as well. Since Tomato King actually uses Plat monsters as its Xyz material. And also Tomato's effect is when this card is normal summon, special summon a Tomato in Tomato from your hand or deck. Therefore, this actually gives you a turn 1 Tomato King right on the dot, with actually the effect of Tomato King doubling its current attack point until your opponent's end phase. As well, to the 200 attack points right on the dot is a pretty decent way to start a defense as well. So even if your hand were to be like one Tomato and Tomato and the rest are spell or traps, at least you have something to set on the field while Tomato and Tomato brings out the monster for you to Xyz. It is a pretty fast paced card and I recommend you playing it if you are playing a plant based deck, or you just want something just to stall just in case you were to break. So Tomato and Tomato is a great choice, and it is a card you must at least have 2 to 3 copies to play. Next up is Arcane Interceptor, and as usual it also inflicts burn damage to your opponent when your opponent's monster declares an attack. So burn damage of 250 as well. So most of the cards here are basically burn damage and bell position change, but regardless, that's a pretty okay effect overall. But let's check out the event as a whole on its own right now. So as you can see right now on the screen, you see the pyramid where my current rank is beginner, then next up is standard, elite and master. So these different ranking system also has its own individual rewards. So the more duels you win, the more you can progress onto standard, elite, then master. And as usual, the card lottery is there for you to obtain the cards that I mentioned just now, like Tomato and Tomato, etc. And next up is the bread and butter of this event. So currently, as you can see, this is a D-Wheeler for Primo, and the effects as it reads are mostly supporting for Megalord Emperors. Unless you're not playing a Megalord Emperor deck, I do not recommend you using this D-Wheeler. It would be better if you would go for Yusei's D-Wheeler instead, since you get to draw cards and also add monsters from your deck to your hand, such as the remove 10 counters, adding a tuner monster, and additional normal summons. For Crows, on the other hand, you can increase your attack monsters and also play more tuner monsters around the field. And for those of you who are playing a more powerhouse based deck, I recommend you using Jack's D-Wheeler, aka Power Force. Not only you'll have an attack bonus, you will also gain the special effect of destroying a monster your opponent controls. That way, once you have enough counters, you can actually destroy a monster on your opponent's field. And since it does not count as a card effect, it is a fine bonus for you to finish off your opponent during that turn. Next up is Aki's D-Wheeler. So basically, you are using this to do for like decks that have piercing damage. Since the 4th counter is half all monsters the defense of all monsters your opponent controls. This is not applied to whether they are face down or not, so it must be face up. Next up is changing the battle position of your opponent's monsters. And also, last but not least, select a monster you control until end of turn. It can attack each monster your opponent controls in one time. So those of you who want to go for an OTK kind of base deck, I recommend you using this D-Wheeler. Next up is Sector Security, aka Trudge. His D-Wheeler is pretty much more basic. It's more to playing a field control deck. So the first counter, as you can see, is checking out the face down card on your opponent's field. And you can limit your opponent's counter only up to 3 times during the duel as well. And also the remove 8, neither player can banish cards in the graveyard, no special summon monsters from the graveyard until the opponent's next turn. Play a monster from your opponent's graveyard that was destroyed by battle and can be normal summoned instead. This monster will be sent to your opponent's graveyard at the end of the turn. So it's kind of like a Monster Reborn in a way, but at the same time it depends on what kind of deck you're running. But overall, I would recommend the D-Wheelers such as Aki's, Jack Atlas, and also Yusei Fudo. You also have Antinomi's D-Wheeler. Basically, if you're playing a deck that's heavily on Synchro Summoning, I do recommend you using this one since it also plays Tuner Synchro monsters from the graveyard as well. And also this will help you for those of you who are playing the String Star Dragon deck. It will, at counter 7, you can special summon a Synchro monster level 2 or lower from your extra deck onto the field. This not only helps you gain an upper hand if you do not have the String Storage skill, which is pretty much impossible. But if you really do not have it, then this is a card for you to go for. Or if you're playing TG, then this is also a great option. Next up, we have Brave Revolution. This is basically Leo's skateboard. It changes the battle position one face-up monster that was normal summon onto your field, and it plays equipped spells, whether it's adding or returning from the hand to the bottom of the deck and drawing a card. And also for your Powerful Dragon as Powerful Dragon support. So that's pretty much it for the D-Wheeler rundown as well. So let's check out the grade up rewards. So as you can see in the grade up reward system here, the beginner 1 and beginner 2, once you actually complete the conditions, you move up to standard 5 where you can obtain gems, skill chips, and also the playmats. For this round, the playmats and sleeves will be the one from Antinomi's D-Wheeler. I like the design and I do recommend that all of you try to play the rank up as well, since you'll also be gaining a bonus of 50 gems a day just by participating in this event. So as you click onto the missions menu right there, you can see that the list is right here. So participating it in 4 times, you'll actually gain the EX jewels and also the gems. And once you accumulated your EX jewels, you can use it for the card trader, where you have access to trading for a Dark Strike Fighter, a Junk Gardner, or any other cards that were listed on the list that I previously mentioned before. Or you can also go for event boosters, which is fine as well, but I do recommend you prioritizing on the cards, since they are only event exclusive and you do not know when the next event such as this may come back again. Sure, it'll come back, but it may take a longer time, since that Arch 5 has just been released and there has yet been a new event for Arch 5. The last event was from YuGiOh GX, so currently now it's in 5 days, and most probably the next one will be a Zexal event, and only then it'll be an Arch 5 event following the periodic system, if you think about it. And that's about it for the entire event rundown. Also, do not forget that your mission bingo is currently available, as you can see. And so currently sheet number 2 is available on your YuGiOh Duel links, and sheet number 3 will proceed to come by during the next following day. And as you click into the missions menu right here, the recommended card for this entire mini event will be the Fairy King Alverdick. So it requires 2 level 4 Earth monsters. Once per turn, detach a material, and all non-Earth monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense points. This card may not seem much to you, but losing 500 attack and defense points does have its slight benefits depending on how you're gonna play with it. And if you were to go for monsters with piercing damage or have slightly lower attack points because your opponent has a much more beefed up monster, so at least detaching and losing 500 attack points, you have a slight advantage to play around that. Not to mention this effect. I think this effect is kind of permanent as well. So you can use this up to 2 turns, and if you were to have a wall of disruption on the field, that's an extra bonus as well, since your opponent will be losing a lot of attack points. And I think that's pretty much it for this entire event as an overall as well, since there isn't any new updates after this event, and there is also a new Forbidden Limited list and skill balance being updated as well. So there's nothing much to talk about. I do wish you all the best of luck participating in Turbo Duel Grand Prix. The last time I managed to play this event, I only reached Elite. I have not reached Masters at all. but at least is a good proving ground or training ground for you duelists who like to participate in PvP duels and try out different decks, especially the ones from Archfall like Super Heavy Samurais or Melodious if you are new to playing that kind of archetype. And also I would like to tell you guys to just participate, because wins and losses do not really matter, especially if you're just farming for the event, because you'll be getting the lottery coins and the EX jewels and the participation rewards. So win and lose, it doesn't matter. If you win, you'll rank up. If you lose, do not matter, your rank will not be demoted. This is not like ranked duels. So you just have to keep grinding for this event. After all, this game is meant to be fun and is meant to test out your abilities as a duelist. Also, if you're playing this event, especially PvPs, I do recommend you players to try out different other decks and to observe the different decks that your opponent uses. Because for all you know, you might learn something new and also familiarize yourself with the combos of a certain deck. For example, if your opponent were to be an Arrow Mage player or a Galaxy Ice, and you kind of know the basics of it, but when you see some big brain plays going on, at least you know that some cards can be applied to the deck based on how it's being built. Not to mention, you can also check out the deck list if I'm not mistaken. Let's go right there. Should be under dual record. So right here, if you click into this, you'll be able to see their deck build. And as you can see, this is actually a Blue Eyes deck. However, he just added in Mark of the Dragon skill just to trick opponents into thinking he's playing a junk deck. But in a matter of fact, he's playing a Blue Eyes deck. So as you can see, the different players have different kind of builds, and I do recommend you checking out all the different deck lists, by the way, because checking out the different deck lists of players who actually defeat who you won or lost against is a crucial learning point for you duelists. And that's it from me. I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time in the next video. So do your best in this event. Get your gems, get your event lottery tickets, and do your freaking best. That's it from me. I'm telling you to do your best because that's all I can say. You can actually hope for something that if you want to learn something, you better attempt it yourself. I can only tell you what the event is about, but the learning process is up to you. So that's it from me. That's it for the video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.